Hey everyone, welcome back. I'm here with Chris Capistron, Director of Programs at La Jolla Center for Pacific Strategy and the author of America's Strategic City Series. Today we're talking about part three, the Pacific economy, and why San Diego's economic engine matters far beyond Southern California. How you doing today, Chris?
Doing great, Connor. Glad to be back here. Excited to talk about this series.
Absolutely, and a great series so far. First question I have for you, Chris, the origin of the recipe, the piece. Chris, the installment zooms in on San Diego's economic role in the Pacific. What made you choose to focus this part of the series on trade, infrastructure, and economic power?
Thanks. I really wanted to touch on this piece because the economy of San Diego is stereotyped is to be commercial and tourism and like service industry based, and that's a large part of our economy here. It's almost 40%, but almost a third of San Diego's economy is maritime trade and cargo handling. So the trade piece of San Diego's economy is incredibly important to the city as a strategic uh, asset for the country.
I absolutely, I agree. And really, you kind of do a great job of kind of framing this as this kind of Pacific gateway, right? And you talk about this indispensable Pacific gateway. For people who don't live here or only associate San Diego with beaches or the U.S. Navy, shout out to the U.S. Navy. What does that actually mean in practical terms?
In practical terms, that means that San Diego is a gateway to the Pacific. It's a major conduit for domestic trade with Hawaii. It's has a binational relationship with Baja California, and the two economies operate as a single unit. Um, our airport is the busiest in North America, and with international domestic flights to Europe and the Pacific. So, although people come here to go to a Padres game and enjoy our beaches and great weather, San Diego is absolutely a gateway to the Pacific.
Well said. Let's shift over into trade and infrastructure because I think these are two certain areas that aren't really touched about or at least known in a lot of communities outside of San Diego. And the one thing you certainly do highlight is how San Diego's infrastructure is evolving, especially the port. Without giving everything away, what should people understand about San Diego's economic modernization?
So recently, the Port of San Diego has invested a significant amount of money into installing two fully electric cranes, which give the port the largest crane capacity on the West Coast. Why this matters is cargo that would normally have gone elsewhere on the Pacific coast, or maybe have had to travel to the Gulf of Mexico, maybe even the East Coast of the United States to access this. Now they can just stop right here in San Diego, and these two massive electric cranes that were just installed, also part of the port's clean energy and balloon economy initiatives, uh, really make the port a key feature of the city.
Yeah. And for all those listening that aren't maybe geography wizards, San Diego is extremely close to another country, just like you can look at Seattle or other cities to the north when with Canada. But over here we have Mexico. So I want to talk about the cross-border economy. Part three gets into something a lot of people do underestimate, cross-border dynamic with Baja California. How does this region actually operate as a single economic ecosystem?
The region operates as a single economic system as it's a transfrontier metropolis. So transfrontier just basically means it's one thing that crosses an international border. But what that means is that innovation, development of biotech happen and automotive and aerospace products is developed here in the States. And then the talented pool of workers in Mexico is able to build these things at a lower cost and keep these products near shore. So it forces us to rely less on China for our goods and services.
And for anyone watching, the scale of the integration that Chris is talking about is massive, truly massive. But we'll leave those details to the written piece itself. Getting into national security, Chris, You talk about the intersection of economies and national security, especially the relationship between the defense cluster and San Diego's innovation ecosystem. Why is that link so important to understand now?
Well, it would be irresponsible of us to talk about the economy of San Diego and completely ignore the defense sector that dominates the city. Obviously, San Diego is a Navy city, which pains me as an Air Force veteran. However, but that massive defense sector allows for innovation to happen in related industries that call San Diego home, whether it be AI or cybersecurity, autonomous surface vessels, or anything in the biomedical or life science type realm.
And yeah, these big military centers historically throughout the country has been somewhat linked to a port that is in relative distance to a stronger industrial base. And you touch on that, and you outline these two big imperatives: workforce development and infrastructure investment. Why are those two central points so centralized to San Diego's long-term strategic role?
Both of those things are really important to San Diego in the strategic sense, because San Diego's per capita income GDP is almost $82,000 a year, which is very, very close to LA. And that high GDP indicates that our economy here is very knowledge based and very focused on tech and innovation and the latest technologies that are coming out.
Sure. Uh, Finally, I just really quickly want to talk about policy. I really want to talk about policy. Part three argues that San Diego has been treated, has to be treated as a unified national strategic asset. Can you explain that idea without giving away the entire argument?
Without giving everything away, San Diego needs to be treated as a very much as a strategic city in terms of trade in the economy and the defense sector, because we of our close proximity to New Mexico, to Mexico, and our economy is linked together. So when Mexico succeeds, San Diego and California, United States succeed. The defense sector here is obviously a huge piece, and it's a large reason why San Diego has the economy that it does.
Point blank, Chris, if someone's watching this and wondering whether to read part three or not, what's the biggest reason they should?
The biggest reason they need to read part three is because there's some data points in there that are almost unbelievable. But when you step back and look at the grand scale of the economic impact of San Diego, you'll truly appreciate how important San Diego is to the United States.
That is a much better way than I would have said it. I would have said, well, you have to read it to be able to get to part four. But Chris, it's always great talking with you. For anyone watching, part three of America's Strategic City series is going to be live tomorrow on the 24th of November. We only scratched the surface here. The full piece breaks down the trade networks, cross-border supply chains, innovation clusters, and strategic infrastructure behind San Diego's role in the Pacific. Go read it, share it, and stay tuned for part four. Thank you, Chris, for hopping on.
Thanks, Connor.
Till next time.